We've had a few sneak previews, a few snippets from the NPD report for the month of November, but now we finally have the real deal. And we have not only hardware sales, but software sales and the chart as well from NPD. So let's kick things off with the software, shall we? As we have some pretty awesome news that Pokemon Sun and Moon dominated new game sales in the US in November, again according to NPD. Now, NPD unfortunately wasn't given digital sales data for Sun and Moon. They did say when you combine those two games, it outsold everything else on the software chart this month. And it was even described by NPD's Sam Nagy that Sun and Moon had the, quote, strongest launch in the history of the franchise, beating Pokemon Black and White, the previous record holder, by 8%, even though at the time of the charting period it had actually been on sale for 19 days fewer than Black and White. Now this actually led to a pretty nice increase in software sales for the 3DS and did hardware as well, but I'll get to that later. And quotes, Nintendo 3DS experienced its highest monthly physical software spending in the history of the platform. It's actually 1% higher than the previous record held in December 2014. So, with all that said, let's move on to the software chart. We have Call of Duty Infinite Warfare at 1, Battlefield 1 at 2, Sun at 3, Moon at 4, Titanfall 2 at 5, NBA 2K17 at 6, Madden NFL 17 at 7, Watch Dogs 2 at 8, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim at 9, but again no digital sales included, and 10 is FIFA 17. Now what's really interesting is that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is at that top spot despite the reports of the rather hefty drop from sales in comparison to Black Ops 3, and Battlefield 1 is still going strong after it was at the top of the charts back in October. Now, this month was actually pretty damn stacked, lots of high profile releases, but unfortunately wasn't enough to prevent a 19% year-on-year decline in software sales compared to 2015. Now before you ask, well, how come? We actually have some comments from Sam Nagy again on that, and he said, quote, the decline can be fully attributed to the top 3 selling games which combined sold 43% less than the top 3 games from last November. Combined spending across all other titles grew 12% in November compared with a year ago. The year-on-year software revenue decline was driven by this strong comparison to last November's top 3 titles. Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Fallout 4, Star Wars Battlefront, which were all full-price console new releases. This month's top 3 games were Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Battlefield 1 and Pokemon Sun. Battlefield 1 launched in October rather. Pokemon Sun launched at a lower price than last November's console games. As all titles outside of the top 3 grew a combined 12% versus a year ago, it is the top 3 title grouping that drove the year-on-year decline. So basically, because Battlefield 1's been on sale since October, it's still doing really well, but obviously these are kind of the late sales rather than, oh my god, let's all rush to buy it because it just came out sales. And as well, Pokemon Sun, yes it just came out, but as he pointed out, it is cheaper. Now, I'm glad that Watch Dogs 2 is at least in the top 10. It's a bit of a shame it's only at 7, but I'm glad it's at least in the top 10 when it wasn't previously, because I don't blame people for being gun-shy on that game, given how we were all let massively down by the ridiculous hype train about the first one, which of course was really disappointing in the end. So I don't blame people at all, but I'm kind of glad at least that word of mouth seems to be going around, and maybe giving that game a bit more love, because it does deserve it. However, I know you're all saying, oh, get to the hardware, we want to know who sold the most out of the PS4 and the Xbox One. Well, I previously reported that the PS4 outsold the Xbox One in November, breaking its 4-month streak, but we do have a bit of more information. Now, for the 4-month streak that Microsoft enjoyed with the Xbox One, it was mostly attributed to the Xbox One S. And we have a similar situation here with the Pro, as it is partially responsible for the revived interest in the PS4. However, the most interested console that people are interested in rather might surprise you, as the PS4 Slim 500GB with Uncharted 4 bundle was actually the best selling out of all the hardware SKUs and actually accounted for a pretty hefty 30% of all hardware units sold in December, which is pretty damn impressive. So undoubtedly the Pro was a factor, but it was actually that Slim bundle with Uncharted 4, so it just goes to show you what consumers are actually looking for here. Now earlier on I kind of alluded to some increase in sales for the 3DS, and actually saw a 59% year-on-year increase, which is its 6 consecutive months of year-on-year growth, which is pretty damn impressive. And as for the NES Classic, 196,000 people managed to actually get their hands on it, so well done to them. However, despite all these strong sales, hardware sales did fall 35% year on year, despite the growth in the 3DS, primarily due to the cheaper price of both the PS4 and Xbox One. So, to round things off, we have the industry in general, a bit of a snapshot for you. The industry spend in the US clocked in at $1.97 billion, which is a 24% year-on-year decline from $2.6 billion, and software once again took the blame for this. Software sales fell 18% year-on-year to $955.2 million, while PC software also fell 28% year-on-year to $27.5 million. And declines in the top 3 bestsellers, as we already discussed, also attributed. And we also saw again that hardware sales fall from 35%. So it fell 35% to $723.8 million, and accessories also fell 6% year on year to $259.8 million. Now, again, NPD did stress that hardware pricing is the reason for the drop off there, and accessories have been, shall we say, not feeling too happy about the collapse of the Toys to Life category. That is primarily the reason why we're seeing that particular decline in that category. So, there you have it. The wait is over for the November NPD report. Now, of course, we're going to be waiting quite a while to know what happens in the month of December. Now, while, of course, there's not as many high-profile releases, there's still, of course, many games being bought for Christmas presents and just in general as well. So it's still a critical month for developers, publishers and console manufacturers. So this month is going to be very interesting indeed, and it's still going to remain interesting into January and February as we have some pretty nice releases coming out then as well. So it's going to be a good time to get a better picture of the console race, as it were, as of course there have been previous reports that the PS4 beat the Xbox One by about 100,000 units. Do check out my previous video on that if you're at all interested for more information. So, with that said, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It does help out a great deal, and I'll see you next time.